Hey there everyone. So back in early December 2022, DJI decided to release the latest firmware that allowed for the DJI Vista, Caddx Vista, sorry, to be able to connect with the Goggles too. At the same time, they also then allowed for the MSP DisplayPort to work as well. So that way you can actually get the canvas mode, as people used to call it, to work onto the Goggles 2 and see all of the Betaflight display elements, the OSD, all on the screen, just as you would on analog. So it was very exciting, and I remember that I was checking the firmware updates on the Goggles 2 for the compatibility with the Caddx Vista. Every day, about 2 or 3 times, I'll check it in the morning, middle of the day during work, and also after work as well. And then suddenly they decided to release it without any announcement, and I tried it out immediately and set it up. So what I did then was set out to create a video that we would be able to then get the MSP DisplayPort and show everyone how that works. And at that time, Betaflight latest version was 4.3, and so there were a few things that we had to do in the CLI. I'll put a link, a tag up here to show you that the video that I went through to set up the MSP DisplayPort on Betaflight 4.3, and that allowed everyone to set it up and configure it during that time. And since then, the Betaflight devs have changed it and made it easier for us to actually set up the MSP DisplayPort. You don't have to go into CLI anymore and then start setting up the actual UART number and so forth. They've all put that into the ports tab now, so it makes it a bit easier. You don't have to go through and set all of the CLI configs anymore. So what I'm going to do in this video is show you the update to that, to how to do that on Betaflight 4.4. I have a quad here which is on 4.3 at the moment. I'm going to flash it in this video, showing you how to get it onto 4.4 and then set it up with the MSP DisplayPort with the Caddx Vista. So I haven't actually tried this before, so we'll give it a go. I think it's quite simple. This is just because there's been quite a few comments in the previous video of people running into the issue where they can't set it up anymore. The Betaflight devs have changed the settings in the back end of the firmware, so it's not the same configuration settings anymore. So it should be easier, should be easily done within the ports tab. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm NamPam, let's get into it. Alright, so here we've got the quadcopter that we'll be setting this up on. This is a Apex 3-inch frame, so you can see it here underneath is an Apex 3-inch, and I've made a Cinewoop kind of guard. I've 3D printed this, I designed it myself. It is a bit thin on the whoop guards here. I might redesign it and make them thicker, and I just wanted to put this on just to try it out, just for fun. I have a 3D printer, I thought I'd just give it a go, and I wanted to fly this in kind of indoor, an open indoor space kind of thing, something like a gymnasium kind of thing area. But this is, yeah, just something that I made for it. So I'm just going to use this as the quad and the flight controller that I'll be setting this up on. So you can see I've plugged it in already. It's currently set up on Betaflight, and I will be flashing this flight controller. So this is the JHE MCU flight controller. It is a NOX V3, which is NOXE V3 flight controller, and I have used this on the DJI O3 air unit, and I have the plug here to plug into it. So on the pads over here that you can see, it is on the TX2. This flight controller does have the plug so that you can plug in using a plug similar to this on the other side of the board, but I decided to solder it directly on just to get a better connection on there. So what I'll do is I will flash this flight controller first, and this can plug into the Caddx Vista. I'll show you that in a second. So here on Betaflight, what I'm going to do, you can see I've all set up here, and I can just go to update firmware, and firmware flasher. We have to wait till this comes up, and here we go. So we've got show release candidates. I'll open up in release ones, choose the board. I'll auto detect this. So it's come up as DJI F4.1.1. And I'm going to go to this latest firmware version of 4.4.0. I think that's the latest. Yep. 29th of Jan 2023. That should be fine. And down here, radio protocol, I do have Express LRS on here, so I will be using the Crossfire. That's all I will need. And the other options, I will leave it as standard. I think this flight controller would be able to handle it. Motor protocol, D-Shot. So here I will then just go down to load the firmware online. And it will gather the files from the cloud. Alright, so now that we've done that, we can flash the firmware. So okay, so the flashing is now done, programming is successful. So what we'll do next is basically connect back into Betaflight. Here it's asking, do we want to apply custom defaults? We always do that, so custom defaults have been applied. Okay, so accelerometer, need to calibrate that. We'll do that right now. So just to get it all set up. So here we go. The quad is on a flat bench, as you can see, and calibrate accelerometer. Alright, so now that's done, and I haven't done this part before, so we'll go into the ports tab and check it out. So I mentioned earlier that this wire here is connected to UART2, or sorry, TX2 and RX2, which is UART2. So over here on the ports tab, we have it all set up. I think this is all by default. I'm not going to be using a serial RX. I'm not sure why that is on UART2. I'm going to change that. And on UART2, we will be having the peripherals over here. So we'll need to set, as far as I know, okay, maybe not here actually. Yep, it is. So down here we've got VTX MSP plus DisplayPort. So I believe that once we set this, this is all that's required to set up in the ports tab for the OSD to be showing up basically as a display MSP DisplayPort onto the goggles too. So I've set that now, and I will save and reboot. Just check it. I think that's basically all we'll need to do. Also, I think it automatically, as you saw, it changed the configuration MSP to be enabled here as well. So that's pretty good that it automatically did it for me, that it turned this one on once I've set this to MSP DisplayPort. I believe in configuration there used to be an OSD setting as well, and that's already enabled, OSD. Good. So we'll jump over to OSD over here. And at the moment there's nothing set on OSD. Alright, so I'll just go through and select some of the OSD elements that I want to show on the screen that I usually use, and this is just to test it out anyway, so we're just going to see it on the screen when we get the goggles connected. So we'll go through battery, average cell voltage, I like that. Current draw, sometimes I do, I won't use it now. Battery voltage, and what else is there? Tracking craft name just for fun, and what else is there? Debug. Timer 2, that's usually the flight time. I have Express LRS, so I will be getting in link quality and also the dBm, where is it? RSSI dBm value, I think that's the one. There you go. Alright, so we've got a few there now. Obviously I've just jammed them all on top of each other, so I'm just going to move them out of the way here. Should be able to tell what each one is. Okay, so that's craft name, put that at the top here. Fly minutes, put it over here. I'll put them on the side at the moment because I don't know how they would actually display. Put it somewhere there, because sometimes if you put it down in the bottom corner it doesn't actually show up because it gets cut off. So I'm just going to put it to the left and right. Hopefully it actually shows up on the screen. put the dBMs here, down a bit. Link quality on top of that. And I think that's pretty much it for now. So let's give that a go. I'll save it. All right. And that's all that we need to do, I think, in Betaflight. So we'll give it a go. If not, we'll come back and fix it up. So over here on the quad, we have it all set up and we've just saved the config. I'll disconnect and I'll need to power this up with the battery and then also get the connected, I guess a Caddx Vista connected. So you'll see here I have the camera connected to the Caddx Vista and the antenna. Over this side you'll see there's something that I've added as an additional component. So this is just a JST SH1.0, which is the standard JST connector that DJI uses. Now this little connector here that has a PCB with that plug is something that I bought on a store here. I'm not sure if it's worldwide or not, but I think they would be able to ship it. But it's basically this here. So I'm not sure if you can find this elsewhere, but it's a Pololu and it is a 6-pin male JST SH style, and I think it's a 1.0, which is basically 1mm separation between the pins. And here I've got a few more. So basically it was this, and it allows for me to use the same JST plug that DJI uses, and it has the exact dimensions, the spacing of these pads here, directly onto the same pads that are on the Caddx Vista. So this was very helpful and handy, and I got this so that I could actually use it with the SwitchBlock that I designed. And at the moment the SwitchBlock is currently being used with the O3 Air unit, and I want to also create one for the Caddx Vista as well. I just haven't had the time to design the 3D files yet and print it out, because the Vista is much smaller than the O3 Air unit, and yeah, it's just I have to redesign a full piece again for it to work. But at the moment I can use this plug and test it out. So what I'll do is unplug the USB-C cable from here. Alright, so that's just going to power it down, and I'll plug it in. So you can see here the actual cable, the wires from the flight controller. I've got it so that there's a 5V in the ground that you can see there, so the red and the black, so 5V and ground. There's a I think it's a TX and RX on the other side, but it matches exactly the same as the O3 Air unit that connects this to this. So the pins on the Caddx Vista is the same order as the O3 Air unit. Since they designed it to be the same. So here I can plug this one in. It's the wrong way. Okay. So plugging that in is the same thing as soldering these wires directly onto the Vista. So I've got it there plugged in. Okay, so now that that's hooked up, I can power it up with this battery here. Okay, so I'll get my goggles to be powered up, and this Vista is already bound to the goggles are already bound to the Vista, so I won't have to worry about that. Okay, so I have the goggles fired up, and I can see the actual image coming from the Caddx Vista into the goggles. I don't see the OSD elements yet. Alright, so the OSD elements weren't showing on the goggles, so I just wanted to come in here and check a few things out, if anything that I've missed. But I think on the ports tab here we have the UART 2, which is set correctly to the TX2 on the flight controller, and the peripherals is set to VTX MSP DisplayPort. I'll jump over to CLI just to see the previous settings that we had for 4.3 and before, if they are still in here and how they are configured. So let's have a look at the first one, which was I think it is get OSD DisplayPort device. I think, yeah, it is device. So it's auto populated it for me here, and it's on auto. So the previous settings that we had to configure was this setting here and set it to MSP. So I'll give that a go. OSD DisplayPort device is equal to, and we'll set it to MSP. Type in save and reboot. Okay, so let's just check if that actually stuck. Get OSD DisplayPort device. Okay, so it is set to MSP, so we're good with that. So I'll plug in the goggles and the Vista again and see how we go. Alright, so firing up the goggles and plugging in a battery. We'll wait till they connect. And there we go. So I can see it now. And I'll try and get it to be recorded on a phone or a tablet so it can be shown. But yeah, the OSD elements are there. So it seems as though there's settings and configurations in Betaflight 4.4. You have to go that extra step to set that configuration in a CLI. I'm not sure why. I may have missed it if I did, and someone else out there knows it's somewhere in the UI of Betaflight configurator. Let me know. But at the moment, I had to go through the CLI and type that in. But at least it's working now. I was a bit worried that somehow it didn't, 4.4 didn't work with the goggles too and the Vista, but it is working. So that's great. And now I'll try and get it to record and maybe show it on the screen here. Okay, so here we go. You can actually see that it's connected now, and it is connected with the goggles too to the Vista, and we have the OSD elements set up here, and also it is on Betaflight 4.4. So it wasn't as simple as what I had thought it would be, just to set it up in the UI, as a few people have said online. There hasn't been any other videos on YouTube either that actually shows this working, so, or at least I couldn't find it, but here we go. I hope this helps someone out there and get it working, because I couldn't find it and I had to play around with it as well. So I'll link this one to the previous video, and just to let everyone know how to do it on all the versions of Betaflight from the 4.3 before and also 4.4 now. So this is great. And I might upgrade some of my other quads to 4.4, but this is just a test at the moment to see how it works. Anyhow, I hope that helped. Hope you enjoyed that, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.